This is what happened when Aaliyah don't want to screen Kaylin right here. Look at this. Kaylin lands on her knee with Odyssey Sims trailing and grabbing her. Now Kaylin's on the floor grabbing her knee. Thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. Look at this. AB didn't screen. So now Odyssey Sims is on time. This is what Draymond Green was trying to tell you.
Time to face reality, folks. She just went down, grabbing her knee in obvious pain, and what the broadcast told a staggering 15 million people watching at home was a flat-out lie. They said she lost her balance. Lost her balance. Anyone with two working eyes, anyone who understands basic physics, can watch that replay and instantly see the truth. That was not a stumble, that was not an accident. That was a defender who ran directly into Caitlin Clark's lower body at full speed, clearly attempting to take her legs out from under her in a way that had absolutely nothing to do with playing the ball. And the most shocking part, a referee was standing right there, watching the entire deliberate play unfold, and decided the smartest move was to do absolutely nothing at all.
They came after Caitlin tonight. She gets flat mugged right here. Flat mugged. Hey, what are we doing? I mean, yikes! She couldn't get a foul call if her life depended on it. Not tonight, anyway. Not tonight. And then Odyssey Sims, I mean, for real, tackles Caitlin Clark. There's no confusion. She tackled her like it's the National Football League. And look, I like Odyssey Sims. She came through last year for the Fever. But
This wasn't just any game. This was the Indiana Fever taking on the Dallas Wings, a matchup that should have been about high-level basketball but quickly devolved into a physical onslaught. By the time the final buzzer sounded, Caitlin Clark, the player driving unprecedented viewership and attendance, had been shoved, grabbed, held, and knocked to the floor more times than anyone bothered to count on the stat sheet. But two moments in particular are the ones that have exploded across social media and have literally everyone talking this morning. First, the terrifying play where Clark ends up clutching her knee in visible agony after a defender went low into her legs in a way that has absolutely no place in competitive sports.
Clark and Beckers. And some intensity growing here as Clark.
And then, just before halftime, we saw Paige Beckers brazenly wrapping up Clark's arm, refusing to let go, basically daring the officials to make a call while precious seconds ticked off the clock. These were two completely different moments, born from different circumstances, yet they shared the exact same, infuriating result. The whistle stayed in the pocket way longer than it should have, and by the time it finally came out, the damage, both physical and psychological, was already painfully done, adding fuel to an already raging fire of controversy surrounding the officiating of Clark's games.
Aaliyah Boston is trash. She does not set screens. You got people tackling Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, big, soft, sorry ass, don't do nothing. She's a big, soft, sorry piece of if you ask me out there. Aaliyah Boston is ass. $6 million of ass juice out there. She ain't did nothing. Got dominated by Jessica Shepard. Aaliyah Boston, get your sorry ass in the trash too. Go on, get your sorry ass in the trash. You suck. You the most overrated, overpaid big for six.
Let's start with the knee incident, because this is the play that should be getting more attention than it currently is, given the sheer danger involved. Clark is working tirelessly off the ball, trying to create space, trying to get into a passing lane, when a Dallas Wings defender closes the gap on her at a speed that has no business being that close to a standing player's legs. The contact lands low, dangerously right around the knee joint, and Clark immediately crumples to the court. Both hands instinctively go to the joint, her face twisted in a way that screams genuine pain, not some dramatic sell job. You don't grab your own knee like that in that moment unless something actually seriously hurt. The defender, meanwhile, takes a stumbling step or two afterward, and then, in a move that feels almost performative, throws her arms out as if she's the one who got caught off guard by the entire incident, which is exactly the kind of small, theatrical detail that makes the whole play look even more deliberate and frankly suspicious on a second and third viewing.
Electing to not screen. Look at this. Like, look at this. What type? You're screening Kaylin! Oh my gosh! She's screening Caitlyn instead of Odyssey. Oh my gosh! How do you screen Caitlyn? Oh my gosh! She's screening her own teammate instead of screening Odyssey Sims. How do you screen Caitlyn? It got to the point where she's hurting Caitlyn. She's the reason Caitlyn probably fell. Let me watch this. Look at this. AB didn't screen. Odyssey Sims just literally fell into Caitlyn Clark.
Here's the problem with the broadcast's immediate, almost dismissive, call of loss of balance. If you meticulously watch the footwork just before contact, the defender isn't merely reacting to Clark's movement. She's actively closing in on it with predatory intent. She squares her shoulders, she drops her hip angle, and then she drives directly into Clark's standing leg, with the precise mechanics a defensive back uses to chop down a running back before he can plant and make a cut. That is not incidental contact. That is not a player simply failing to stop in time. That is a body positioned specifically to get underneath Clark and take her down. And the shocking fact that the broadcast crew called it losing her balance in real time tells you everything you need to know about how quickly people are willing to explain away blatant, dangerous contact on this particular player, instead of simply calling it what it clearly is. If a defender wanted to merely contest the passing lane, there are literally a dozen safe, legitimate ways to do that without ever getting near a player's knee. This, my friends, was not one of those ways.
Oh, how much is too much when you're guarding Caitlyn Clark? First, Paige grabs her arm, the whistle comes late, Clark gets pissed, and Paige basically tells her, calm down. Then later, Odyssey Sims takes Clark down and she lands knee first on the floor. Nah man, Dallas was physical all night. Indiana loses 91-85 and Clark walks out frustrated. Call it tough defense if you want, but if this is normal, what the hell actually counts?
And here's the part that should actually make every single basketball fan, every person who cares about player safety, absolutely furious. Not just the play itself, but what transpired immediately after it. No whistle. Not a late whistle, not a delayed whistle, just nothing. Caitlyn Clark, the league's undeniable golden goose, the single biggest reason a huge chunk of that arena bought tickets in the first place, is lying on the hardwood in visible, undeniable pain. A trainer eventually has to jog out to check on her. And the three referees, standing within 10 feet of the entire horrifying incident, act like they watched a completely different possession, or perhaps were staring at the ceiling. This is a two-time MVP, the face of the entire league, potentially suffering a serious injury, and the response from the three people paid to officiate that exact situation is deafening silence. No free throws, no flagrant review, not even a common foul to acknowledge that contact happened at all. The game just restarts, inexplicably, like nothing occurred. And the only proof anyone gets that something actually went wrong is Clark limping noticeably through the next several possessions. A stark visual testament to the officials' failure.
There's a moving screen. She's moving all over the place. Hits her with the shoulder, like always. Look at this. Fouls her, holding her, and fouls the crap out of her. No foul. Look at this. She got fouled the whole game. They didn't call this a foul. Look at this one. Like, her body's all over her. How is that not a foul? Look at this one. Cardosa swipes her once, twice, just tries to grab her. Can you imagine being fouled the entire game? Every time you hit half court, every time you dribble, every time you drive. Look at this. Sheldon clearly has her hand on Caitlyn Clark's shoulder when she's shooting it. They even showed a replay.
Now compare that absolute dereliction of duty to how quickly whistles come out when Clark is the one making even the slightest contact. Earlier in this very series between these two teams, Clark barely bumps into a defender while setting up a routine screen and gets an offensive foul called almost instantly. No hesitation, no discussion, no letting the play develop to see if it actually affects anything. That right there is the glaring disconnect fans keep pointing out game after game after game. When Clark initiates even the lightest, most incidental contact, it's a foul before she's even finished the motion. But when something significantly more physical, more dangerous, and more clearly intentional happens to asterisk her, the whistle suddenly needs an extended review of the situation, or it just never comes at all. It's the same three officials working the same 40 minutes of basketball, somehow applying two entirely different standards, depending on which jersey is doing the shoving. And that, my friends, is why people are losing their minds.
Caitlyn herself got called a technical foul because she accidentally ran into a ref. And as you will see from the clip, it was not intentional in the least. Her reaction to getting the whistle is just like all of us. It was so utterly unfair. Watch this.
So clearly was a foul, was not called.
Oh, she didn't even say anything.
Oh my God.
I mean, just insane. And they were going to actually kick her out, and then they finally reversed that ruling. But like, this is crazy how the refs are.
And this isn't the first time this exact, infuriating pattern has shown up either, which is what makes it so much worse. Just a few weeks back, Clark picked up a technical foul for making incidental contact with an official while she was simply following through on a play, a body in motion with nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, other players around the league have made similar, or even rougher, contact with officials in the middle of live action and walked away with nothing more than a shrug, not even a warning. Fans noticed it instantly, and it fed right into the same argument that's been building all season. The standard for what counts as a foul asterisk against Clark and what counts as a foul asterisk on her seem to be derived from two completely different rule books. And to this day, nobody in the league office has ever offered a real, coherent explanation for why that dangerous, unfair gap keeps showing up night after night.
Now, what was that? Paige having the audacity to push Caitlin Clark, then putting her hand out and telling Caitlin Clark to calm down.
Some intensity brewing here as Clark taking exception to the bump. See Beckers grabbing the arm of Clark and Clark flailing the arm.
This is just another example of how girls are getting smoked by Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. The numbers do not lie all across the board. Caitlin is not having her best night tonight, but we still have another half to go. And I will be the first to admit that I think Paige is a baller, the way that she can see the whole court, the way that she can pull up from anywhere on the court. But this was so shicey. There's always been rumors that Paige was kind of jealous of Caitlin Clark, and she admitted it herself that she was jealous for what's happening with Caitlin Clark. She said that in an interview recently, but I feel like you did not need to put your arm out like that. That is so salty. Both players are built for big moments, but that did not need to happen on the court.
Now to the second moment, the one everyone is going to be dissecting and talking about tomorrow, and probably for weeks to come. With less than 10 seconds left in the second quarter, Clark has the ball, the Wings have a foul to give, and Paige Beckers steps in to use it. Except, using a foul to give doesn't mean grabbing someone's entire arm and refusing to let go while the clock ticks down like your life depends on it. Beckers wraps up Clark's left arm, holds on tight, and Clark visibly tries to shake free, clearly frustrated that she's being restrained instead of simply fouled and released, as the rule is intended. The referee lets several full seconds play out, an eternity in basketball time, before finally blowing the whistle. And by then, Clark, in a moment of pure, unadulterated frustration, has already fired the ball down the court, sending it sailing uncomfortably close to Beckers on her way toward the tunnel.
Paige grabbing her, no foul called, grabs her again. Caitlin Clark said, yeah, dude, I mean, she's touched me enough times right now. I mean, she's gotten her hands on me a little bit too much right now. Here we go, we have Paige grabbing Caitlin Clark, literally grabbing her arm, and we're not calling a foul. I don't understand what that is. This is one of the times where Caitlin Clark got mauled. Look at this. Grabbing her arm. Like Caitlin Clark's trying to run away, and Paige Beckers is reaching out saying, no, come here. I want to go this way. Like they're both going shopping at the store. And Caitlin Clark's like, no, I'm not going in that store. And Paige's like, no, come in this store. Yeah. It was wild, absolutely wild. Goes and grabs Caitlin Clark again, and then foul. I mean, that second time looked like she was just trying to foul at that point. That looked like.
Watch it back, and I mean asterisk, really asterisk, watch it back, and pay close attention to the actual mechanics of the hold, not just the outcome. A foul to give is supposed to be quick, decisive. A bump, a rap, a whistle, done. This isn't quick. Beckers holds on well past the point where any official should need to see more information to make the call. She's not trying to stop a shot attempt or a pass. The 10-second mark has basically already run out. She's simply physically preventing Clark from being able to do anything with her body, while everyone waits for a whistle that takes its sweet time arriving. And in the middle of that prolonged, deliberate hold, cameras caught Beckers mouthing something towards Clark that has been widely read online as some version of telling her to calm down. Right in the moment where Clark is the one being held against her will, completely restrained. Slow it down frame by frame, and it's not subtle. Her lips move, her expression is calm, almost dismissive, while Clark is still actively trying to pull her arm free.
Paige and Caitlyn thing I think is interesting because I believe them to be friends. They've said it before, or at least friendly, but they're good. You know, they compete against each other. They're competitors. You know, when you're on the court, it's different. Paige is clearly trying to take a foul here so that Clark doesn't get like some shot off, but she grabs her arm. She's clearly trying to take it. It doesn't get called, and then at this point, she's just mad. I don't think Caitlyn has anything. She's not mad at Paige. She's mad at the ref for not calling the obvious. She grabbed my arm. Paige says, "Calm down." But listen, you yanked my arm. They didn't call it. Call the foul. And then she's still like, at that point, she's like, listen, she's mugging me at this point. You got to call the foul. This is going to end up being something.
Here's the thing about how truly strange that actually is when you slow it down and really sit with it. Beckers is the one initiating the contact. Beckers is the one holding on. Beckers is the one extending the contact well past what the situation requires. And yet the message being sent in that moment is directed squarely at Clark, the player being restrained, as if she's the one who needs to settle down and behave. That, my friends, is the same insidious loop that's followed Clark all season long. She gets hit, held, or fouled hard, she reacts to it even mildly, and somehow the entire narrative, the entire story, becomes about asterisk her asterisk reaction instead of whatever dangerous or illegal contact caused it in the first place. It happened with the referee contact earlier this season. It happened with the knee collision just a few minutes into the very same broadcast. And now, it's happening again with a grabbed arm at the end of the first half. It's a textbook case of gaslighting, played out on a national stage.
NBA refs are some of the worst. They're the worst refs of refdom of any of the refs that exist. They are so continuously, perpetually, just terrible across the board. All of them. I don't give a.
Let's expose last night's game. Like, this was called a foul. After reviewing it, one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. Look at this one. Instead of looking at her getting hit in the face, Caitlin Clark gets hit in the face. They look at a leg slightly moving a screen. Like, this is what Caitlin Clark deals with. Those are reach and fouls, arms across her whole body. She's getting hit twice, once in the throat, no foul called. So she could get hit, she could get assaulted, but they only call fouls if it's on her.
The referees clearly knew they had a significant problem on their hands because the delay in making that call wasn't small. It was glaring. A foul to give, by design, is supposed to be assessed almost instantly so the clock situation is crystal clear for both benches, allowing them to plan their next move. Instead, this one drags out long enough that Clark has already reacted. The ball has already been thrown in frustration, and both teams are already walking toward their respective locker rooms by the time the whistle actually confirms what everyone in the building had already figured out for themselves 3 seconds earlier. That's not good officiating. That's officials who were, at best, asleep on a play that mattered significantly, or at worst, actively allowing the game to devolve into something dangerous and unfair. In the third quarter, Beckers herself eventually picked up a technical foul for arguing with an official after a separate call went against her on a foul involving Clark. The crew lost control of the pace and the physicality, and Clark ended up absorbing the worst of it before anyone in stripes decided to actually manage it.
Yeah, she intentionally seeked out the official. And through the forearm. That too. No, that's what I was told. That's what I was told. My tech was for saying that, even though I heard the F-bomb the whole game. My tech was for saying that. Like, that's a bad call. That's a bad call. Incidental contact when you're flying out of control, like on it. And I thought her teammates should have come up and talked to her about that as well. Like, I think that's really bad. That happens all the time in the game. Officials have to have some awareness in those moments, and it didn't happen. Yes.
Caitlin Clark's agent, Aaron Kane, said Caitlin will never be paid what she's worth by the WNBA because it is quite literally impossible for them to pay her what she's worth. An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic impact and economic activity for the WNBA. You can argue this intelligently. No one person means as much to their league, whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league than what...
I don't know who didn't get a foul call. Stephanie White lost her shit today. She literally was jumping up and down, and I was like, man, that's the first time I've seen Stephanie White show her ass like that all year. But she lost her ever-loving mind.